They say if you stare into the abyss long enough, it starts ordering your Amazon packages. I didn't need therapy. My marriage provided free weekly gaslighting sessions and a growing list of men's names I never asked for. At this point, I figured if karma had a to-do list, my wife was probably screwing it too. But nothing prepped me for the exact moment I realized I was sharing my wife not just with one man, but two, possibly three, depending on how you define just drinks. It started with a receipt. One of those tiny, innocuous pieces of thermal paper that every man has learned to ignore, like the warnings on cigarettes or her texts that end in K. It was crumpled near the laundry hamper, next to a pair of her lacy red underwear she only ever wore when she wanted to feel sexy for herself, which, as it turned out, was code for someone else entirely. I picked it up mostly because I thought it was mine, maybe from lunch or gas or whatever. But it wasn't. It was for a hotel. Not the kind you book for a romantic weekend getaway, no. This was the kind of place that charges by the hour and comes with complimentary shame in every room. 1 king bed, 2 guests, room service, 2 glasses of red wine, and a $25 mini chocolate cake. The date was from 4 days ago, Tuesday. The same Tuesday she said she was volunteering late at the animal shelter. Apparently the stray she was saving had a minibar and a very specific taste for Cabernet. My heart didn't skip a beat. It calcified. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked to the sink, rinsed out the coffee mug she always forgot to clean, and started planning. Not because I'm cold, but because the minute you let emotion take the wheel, you crash before the revenge begins. That night, I started watching her more closely. I became a ghost in my own house, silent and watching, letting her lies stack like crooked playing cards. Her phone had a password now. Her laugh when texting was a little too melodic. She wore lipstick to run errands, and came back smelling like cologne I didn't own. But the thing that got me, the real kicker, was how sloppy she was getting. One night, she came home giddy, kissed me on the cheek like I was a damn Labrador, and went to the shower. Her phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Then 3 times. I didn't touch it. I just memorized the name, Jay. 2 days later, a new name showed up on our shared streaming account, J-Bay. I didn't even know what show she was watching with him, but I knew she never called me anything with a bay in it. I kept playing dumb, smiling like a man who hadn't already seen her hotel check-ins online and cross-referenced them with our shared calendar. But it got weirder. Another day, another receipt, this time from a restaurant across town. Dinner for 2. Lobster. Champagne. And a note scribbled on the back, "You make me feel like a goddess." I knew her handwriting. I knew she hadn't written that to me since 2019. Then came the final straw. She left her email open on our home computer, like a rookie. Maybe she thought I wouldn't check. Maybe she thought I was too trusting, too dumb, or too broken to care anymore. But I looked. Of course I did. And there it was. A sent message to someone named M. Just a few lines. "I had such a great time last night. He still has no idea. You're my escape." Sent the same night she told me she was taking time for herself. 3 different names. 3 different nights. All her. All recent. That's when the clarity hit. She wasn't just cheating. She was collecting lovers like Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. I wasn't even her plan B anymore. I was the cover story. The tax deduction. The emotional support husband while she toured the city's supply of mediocre men with hotel points. But I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I brewed myself a coffee. Sat down. And I started writing. Not to her. To them. All of them. One by one, I crafted messages. Screenshots. Evidence. But I didn't send them. Not yet. First, I needed something better. I needed her to fall into the trap I was building. Because if she thought juggling 2 lovers was risky, wait until they both realize they were side pieces in the same damn game. Let's see how loyal they feel when they find out she's been whispering the same sweet nothings to each of them. And when the truth finally comes out, it won't be me standing in the ruins. It'll be her, alone, as the fantasy collapses. She thought she was the puppet master. She forgot the strings were mine. The first time I felt it, it wasn't even something she said, it was how she stood. We were brushing our teeth, side by side like we always did, and I turned to make a dumb joke about her spitting like a llama, but she wasn't laughing. She didn't even look at me. She was staring at herself in the mirror, brushing slowly, like she was watching a stranger inside her own skin. And then she said it, so casually, so offhandedly I almost didn't register it. "Do you ever feel like you're meant for something more?" I smiled, thinking it was one of those late-night philosophical things couples throw out when they're bored. I said, "Yeah, sure, Maybe a life without traffic and bills. But she didn't laugh. She just rinsed, wiped her mouth, and walked out. I told myself it was nothing, just one of those weird mood swings. We'd been together almost 9 years, married for 6. We had routines, we had inside jokes, we had matching bathrobes for God's sake. I trusted her. I thought people like us didn't break. But cracks don't start as earthquakes. They whisper in the silence between sentences, in glances that don't meet yours, in touches that stop half an inch too soon. She started going for walks. Long ones. To clear my head, she said. At first, I offered to go with her. She smiled, tight-lipped, polite, and said, "No, I just need to breathe, alone." Okay. Sure. Everyone needs space. I gave it. But the walks turned into drives. Then weekends with her book club, which somehow never had a book selection. Then came the new interests. She suddenly started caring about spirituality, yoga, and these obscure, overpriced wellness retreats with names like Awaken Your Inner Flame. I joked that she should just light a scented candle and save the gas money. She didn't find it funny. "You don't take my growth seriously," she said, staring at me like I was the anchor tied to her ankle. She said we needed emotional autonomy, whatever the hell that meant, and that boundaries were healthy. I agreed, still not fully understanding that these boundaries were barbed wire fences with only one side guarded. She stopped checking in. No more sweet texts. No more, "Love you, be home soon." If I asked where she was going, her answers got shorter. "Out. Just meeting someone. I told you yesterday." One night, she left without saying anything. I called her 3 hours later. She picked up on the third ring and whispered, "I'm fine. I just needed air." In the background, I heard music. Loud, rhythmic, not the kind of thing you hear on a solo drive. I didn't ask questions. I told myself not to be that guy. The jealous husband. The controlling one. I remembered all the podcasts she'd started listening to, How to Live Authentically, Claiming Your Feminine Power. I supported her. I wanted her to grow. But every time she reached higher, it felt like she was climbing out of my reach. Our house didn't feel like a home anymore. It was a pit stop. She started spending more time in the guest room because she needed better sleep. Her phone was always face down. Her computer, always closed when I walked by. Once, I needed to borrow her car because mine was low on gas. She tossed me the keys without looking up. In the glove compartment, I found a receipt from a wine bar we'd never been to. 2 glasses of Merlot, 1 creme brulee, and a single note at the bottom. "Next time, my place, winky face." My hands shook. I sat there for a full 10 minutes, staring at the paper. I didn't confront her. I folded it, tucked it into my wallet, and told myself it could have been anything. A friend. A joke. A mistake. The lie tasted like battery acid, but I swallowed it. That night, she came home glowing. Literally glowing. She'd gotten a facial, apparently, in some kind of energy clearing. She kissed me on the forehead and said, "You're so good. I don't deserve you." And for a second, I believed she meant it. Until she turned away, and that smile she'd flashed at me vanished the moment her back was turned. She started locking the bathroom door. Her social media, once filled with couple photos and family events, suddenly became private. "Just taking a break from the world," she said. "Trying to find myself." I was right there, arms open, trying to hold on to her, but she acted like I was part of the noise she needed to escape. She got bolder, too, talking about what she'd do if she were single, about how she needed to reclaim her independence. She said we should both take time to re-explore who we are without each other, as if that was a healthy, noble concept instead of an emotional trial separation dressed in self-help language. I agreed, nodding like an idiot. I still believed she'd come back, that this was just a phase, a storm we'd ride out. Because love makes you dumb. Hope makes you blind. And I wanted to believe the cracks in the mirror were just tricks of the light, not the fault lines of a life about to break in half. It was a Wednesday, normal, unremarkable, the kind of day that should have come and gone like all the rest. She was home early for once, padding around the kitchen barefoot, humming something tuneless, chopping vegetables like she wasn't the architect of a life that had started to rot from the inside out. I watched her from the living room, pretending to scroll through my phone while my mind was quietly sorting through the last 6 weeks like a detective in a case nobody else knew existed. The receipts. The changed passwords. The sudden disappearances. I still hadn't said a word. I still kissed her goodnight. Still folded her laundry. Still played the doting husband who just didn't quite understand her new journey. But something shifted that night, not because of a clue I found, but because of a mistake she made. She handed me her phone. It was a reflex, really. She was cooking, I was standing beside her, and her phone buzzed on the counter. "Can you see who that is?" she asked, a smear of onion juice on her hands. No hesitation, no tension, just a casual toss of trust she must have thought was still intact. But it wasn't. I picked it up, glanced at the screen, and felt the ground tilt slightly beneath me. The message preview read, "Last night was magic. When can I taste you again?" No name. Just a number. A number not saved. But she had opened her phone in front of me once before, weeks ago, and I'd remembered the digits of a contact she texted too often, the one she had under a fake name. This was the same one. I didn't flinch. I didn't even pause. I simply tilted the phone so she couldn't see it, unlocked it, because, like a fool, she still hadn't changed her passcode, and tapped the message. The thread exploded open like a shotgun blast to the chest. Messages every day. Photos. Plans. A playlist titled, "For Us." And then I saw something that made everything else seem like background noise. The line that reset my entire understanding of what I was dealing with. "He thinks I'm going to that stupid meditation retreat tomorrow. Pick me up at the back of the building at 7. That stupid retreat had been my idea. I suggested it. I booked it. I paid for it. I told her to take time for herself. I thought I was supporting her healing. Instead, I had unknowingly been scheduling her escape route to someone else's bed. I locked the phone and handed it back to her. "Spam," I said, dryly. She nodded, didn't even glance at it, kept chopping carrots like she wasn't eviscerating our vows with every slice. I stood there for another moment, watching the blade rise and fall, watching the rhythm, the calm, the sheer, sickening normalcy of it all. And in that moment, something inside me broke, not with a scream or a sob, but with a surgical silence that even I could feel echoing. I realized then this wasn't some lost girl trying to find herself. This wasn't a midlife crisis or a phase or confusion. This was war. Calculated. Ongoing. Cold. She had built a second life while I kept our first one warm for her return. She wasn't lost. She was invested. Intimate with another man. Lying not just with her words but with her tone, her timing, her skin. And it was then, in the muted hum of the kitchen, that I detached completely. I nodded once, turned, and went to the bedroom. I didn't pack. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop. I pulled up the saved screenshots. The receipts. The audio recording I had captured 2 days prior when she accidentally took a call on speaker while I was in the hallway. Her laugh. Her moans. The whispered, "I can't wait till he's out of the picture." All of it. I cataloged everything. Labeled it. Sorted it. And then I opened another tab and found the man, the one who sent the message. His Instagram was public. He was taller than me, dumber looking. A gym rat with inspirational quotes in his bio. He had no idea she was married. No clue she was juggling more than just his dumbbells. He posted a photo of them together, arms linked, faces cut out, but I recognized the scarf she wore. Mine. Given to her on our anniversary. Caption. My favorite soul connection. That's when the rage should have come. But it didn't. I didn't feel rage. I felt precision. Focus. Something sharper than pain. She had played me like a fool in my own home. But now it was my turn. And I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to ruin her quietly, efficiently, and thoroughly. And I was going to make sure he knew exactly what kind of woman he'd let into his life. They thought I was asleep. But I was wide awake now. And the game had just changed. The beauty of silence is that it makes people careless. They think you're broken. They think you're stupid. They think you're still under the spell. But silence is a scalpel, and I wielded mine with precision. The day after I saw the message from the nameless lover, I woke up before her, kissed her forehead like I always did, and started collecting data like it was oxygen. I didn't confront. I observed. I let her routines paint the full picture while I played the devoted husband role so convincingly even I almost believed myself. Her retreat was scheduled for Saturday. She packed a bag with yoga pants, crystals, some motivational book, and an air of self-importance so thick it could have been bottled and sold as a delusion. She told me she needed stillness. I smiled. You deserve it, I said. What she didn't know was that I already booked her exact hotel, under my name, for the room next door. I wouldn't follow her. I'd be waiting, watching, listening. But that was just the final play. Before that, I needed a full map of her lies. I started simple, her calendar. I accessed our shared digital planner where she tracked her appointments. Half the things she claimed to be attending didn't exist. book clubs at libraries that were closed, volunteer shifts at animal shelters that had no record of her name. I compiled a list. Dates, times, inconsistencies. Then I got creative. I created a fake email account with a neutral, untraceable name. I sent a generic invitation to her personal email for a women's spiritual workshop on the same day as her alleged retreat, an event that didn't exist. She responded in 10 minutes, "Thanks, but I'll be out of town that weekend." I smiled. She wasn't lying to me anymore. She was lying to ghosts. Then came the financials. I dug into our shared bank statements and filtered out anything I didn't recognize. I noticed a recurring charge every Thursday, $64.50 from a small bistro downtown. She never mentioned it, never brought leftovers. I called them, disguised my voice, and asked if they offered couples tasting menus. The hostess said yes, every Thursday night. I thanked her, hung up, and added it to the list. But the real stroke of genius came when I baited the hook. I told her I wanted to do something spontaneous for her, something romantic. "Give me your phone," I said. "I want to send you a surprise playlist." She hesitated for half a second. That was all I needed. The human brain can't fake instinct. That microdelay told me everything. But she still handed it over. I didn't check it, not yet. I airdropped a random Spotify playlist and gave it back. The point wasn't the phone. It was the hesitation, the twitch in her eye, the flicker of panic when she thought her world might collapse. It confirmed what I already knew. The secrets weren't just deep, they were fragile. Then I went deeper. I didn't follow her. I followed her friend, Mia, the one she always name-dropped as a cover for Girls' Night. I didn't trail her in person. I used social media. Mia was a sharer. And stupid. On one of their alleged wine nights, Mia posted a story, 2 glasses, 2 women, laughing at a bar. But not the same bar my wife claimed to be at. Different city, actually. She was nowhere in sight. So who was she with that night? That question didn't need an answer, it confirmed everything. I compiled screenshots of her texts to me, claiming she was with Mia, with timestamped posts from Mia being somewhere else. I created a folder called Narrative Collapse. Inside it, screenshots, receipts, audio files, hotel bookings, restaurant menus, even a copy of her email acceptance to the fake event. I had cross-referenced every word she'd said over the past month. 90% of it was fabricated. She had constructed an entire illusion, crafted with the precision of a sociopath and the arrogance of someone who thought she could never be caught. But I wasn't just interested in the lies. I wanted to know him, the one she was sneaking away for. So I created a dummy Instagram profile, complete with a lifestyle brand vibe, gym quotes, fake vacation photos, and followed the likely suspect. He bit. Accepted my follow request. His profile was bland, almost aggressively so. A walking cliché of a man-child in love with his reflection. But he posted enough to give himself away. In one photo, I saw her barely, just the edge of her scarf. My scarf. I enhanced it, ran it through a color filter, and confirmed it matched one she'd lost last month. Caption: when the universe sends you someone who gets you. I almost laughed. He thought he was the chosen one. I scheduled a delivery to her office. Flowers. No name. Just a note that said, "Thanks for last night." I tracked the call she made when they arrived. She called him. Her voice giddy, stupid, unaware that every word was being recorded from the second her phone hit her ear. "Did you send them?" she whispered. "They're beautiful." I saved that audio clip too. The best part? The flowers weren't from him. He had no idea. She was lying to him too. And just like that, the tables flipped. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the author. She thought she was living 2 lives, but soon, both would implode on the same day. The revelation came in the form of silence, specifically the absence of hers. I had let her lie uninterrupted for weeks, watched her weave her stories with increasing arrogance, like a magician who thinks the audience will never look behind the curtain. But tonight, there would be no illusion. I chose the location deliberately, the restaurant where we'd had our engagement dinner, the one with the soft lighting, the piano music, the place she always called our spot, with a wistful sigh whenever she wanted to sound sentimental. I made a reservation under a fake name, requested a table by the window, and called ahead with one special instruction. I needed the small projector they used for romantic proposals to display an image on the wall behind our table. An image I would send once we sat down. I wore the same suit I wore the night I proposed, down to the navy tie she once said made me look like a man she could build a life with. She arrived 10 minutes late, her makeup subtle but strategic, her smile practiced, and when she leaned in to kiss me, I saw the briefest flicker of hesitation, like she could sense, on some animal level, that tonight wasn't hers. I poured her a glass of wine, let her ramble about her retreat, about how restorative it had been, about how she'd finally started reconnecting with herself. I nodded, smiled, asked her how the group workshops went, and she lit up, describing fake rituals and made-up people with names I already knew didn't exist. I asked her what the weather had been like where she stayed. She said sunny. I said that was strange. I had checked. Forecast said thunderstorms. She blinked, paused, recovered. It cleared up later, she said. It was moody, but beautiful. I let the pause hang, then reached into my jacket pocket and handed her a small envelope. Inside was a receipt. Hotel room, room 407, champagne service, 2 glasses. Her name was on the booking. I watched the color drain from her face like someone had unplugged her bloodstream. She looked up at me, lips parting to say something, but before she could lie, the projector behind her came to life. One photo. Just one. Her, in his arms, laughing with her head tilted back, her hand on his chest. The same scarf I'd given her for our 3rd anniversary wrapped around her neck like a noose made of silk. The restaurant grew quiet, just the faint clink of cutlery, the piano still playing something slow. She turned and saw the image, then turned back to me. "It's not what you think," she said, the words spilling out too fast. "We were just talking. That photo looks worse than it is." I didn't respond. I just tilted my head slightly. She stammered. "Okay, yes, we kissed. But it wasn't serious. He's just someone he listens, okay?" Her voice cracked. She reached across the table. I didn't move. "You don't understand. I felt invisible. You've been distant, always in your head. I needed someone, to make me feel alive again." The projector clicked again. Another photo. This one of her entering his apartment at night, time-stamped. She gasped. "You were spying on me," she snapped, voice rising just a notch. "That's insane. That's controlling." I leaned forward, voice quiet, steady. "No," I said. "It's clarity. I was tired of being lied to by someone who promised honesty as a foundation." She scoffed. Tried to regain ground. "You're so dramatic." "I made a mistake. One mistake. People come back from worse." She smiled then, a cold, arrogant little curve of her lips that reminded me just how deeply she believed in her ability to manipulate. "You're not going to leave me. You wouldn't dare. You need me." She said it like it was a fact, like she was invincible. But her eyes said something else. Her hands were shaking now, just slightly, enough that her wine glass clinked against her plate when she reached for it. I set my fork down. "You lied to me. Not once. Not even twice. This was a campaign. A strategy. You made me the fool in my own marriage." Her jaw clenched. "You weren't supposed to find out," she hissed. And there it was, the truth, ugly and unfiltered. I nodded slowly. "But I did. And now, so does he." She blinked. "What?" "Check your phone," I said calmly. "Not now. Later." I sent him everything. Photos. Messages. The hotel logs. The receipts. Even your little moans from the voice memo you accidentally left recording last Thursday. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. And then, finally, the mask cracked. Fear. Real fear. The knowledge that she wasn't in control anymore. That she was trapped in the mess she built, and both of her worlds were now on fire. She looked around, suddenly aware of how quiet the restaurant had become. People weren't watching, but they felt something was wrong. That tension, that stillness before collapse. Her lip trembled, her voice barely above a whisper now. "What are you going to do?" I leaned back, folded my hands, and let the silence answer for me. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to curse. I had already won. She just didn't realize how completely yet. She followed me out of the restaurant like a woman unraveling at the seams, heels clacking too loud against the pavement, breath shallow, voice laced with a panic she couldn't quite mask behind her outrage. "You set me up," she spat, grabbing my arm as I calmly walked toward the car. I didn't respond. "You stalked me, invaded my privacy. Do you even hear yourself? That's not love. That's psychotic." Still, I said nothing. I opened the door, waited for her to get in. She hesitated, then climbed in, practically vibrating with a cocktail of rage and dread. The silence was too much for her. "You think you're so righteous, don't you?" she snapped, voice climbing in pitch. "You think just because you found out, you get to stand there like you're some kind of victim? You smothered me. You know that? Every single day it was like living in a museum, perfect dinners, perfect conversations, but never anything real. You were a routine, not a husband. I looked straight ahead. My hands didn't even tighten on the wheel. You could have left, I said. Just that. Flat, calm, bulletproof. She laughed harsh and ugly. Left? And admit I failed? You think I owe you anything? I gave up my 20s for you. I gave up my body, my dreams, and for what? For your mediocre life? You should be thanking me. I turned to her, finally, just long enough to deliver the next incision. You gave up nothing. You bartered loyalty for attention. Her eyes widened. She wasn't used to this version of me, the one who didn't plead, who didn't justify, who didn't even raise his voice. You never listened, she shouted. You never made me feel like a woman. You were always so damn calm, like nothing touched you. Like I didn't matter. Her voice cracked on the last word. I waited a beat before speaking. You didn't want to matter to me. You wanted to matter to everyone. That silenced her for a moment. But only a moment. You're a coward, she whispered. A real man would have fought for me. I didn't look at her. A real woman wouldn't have needed 3 men to feel whole. Her hand flew to her mouth, shocked not by what I said, but because she realized it was true. I could see the calculation behind her eyes shifting. If shame didn't work, maybe guilt would. She softened her tone, tried to force a tear, let her lip tremble just enough to seem fragile. I was lost, she murmured. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to feel loved. You don't know what it's like, waking up every day and feeling like a shadow. I turned the engine on. Then you should have learned how to stand in the light without stealing mine. Her face twisted, grief, bitterness, all of it folding into something more dangerous. She couldn't get through to me. Not through seduction, not through anger, not even through pity. I was gone, and I think that's when it truly hit her. That this time, there would be no apology cycle. No second chance. No midnight tears in bed followed by forgiveness in the morning. I wasn't hers to beg from anymore. You know what? She hissed, desperate now, cornered in her own crumbling performance. I don't even regret it. He made me feel things you never could. He made me feel alive. Sexy. Desired. Everything you stopped giving me the moment we said, I do. I nodded once. Then go to him. The silence between us grew heavy, like gravity had shifted inside the car. I can't, she whispered finally. Why not? I asked, voice void of warmth. Because he blocked me. The admission was so quiet, I almost missed it. I looked at her then, really looked, and saw the beginning of collapse. The red-rimmed eyes. The trembling lip. The realization that she'd been discarded by the man she threw everything away for. I let that hang in the air, sweet and brutal. You always bet on someone else, I said, and you always lost. Her shoulders shook once. Please, she said, barely audible now. Please, just talk to me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I stared through the windshield at the dark road ahead, then glanced sideways with the calm of a man no longer holding on to anything. Start by figuring out who you are without someone else's name to wear. She covered her face, tears leaking through her fingers. I didn't touch her. I didn't comfort her. I just turned the key, shifted into gear, and drove, not away from the wreckage, but through it, calmly, like the storm had finally passed and I was already somewhere she could never reach again. Revenge wasn't a scream. It was a whisper wrapped in silence and precision. It started the moment she walked out of that car after our confrontation, heels wobbling on the edge of panic, unaware that every step she took was already inside a trap I'd been quietly building for weeks. I didn't tell her we were done. I didn't throw her out. I let her stew in the illusion that we were in limbo, that there was still something left to salvage, because the longer she thought she had time, the deeper I could cut without resistance. First, I secured the assets. She didn't know the joint account she'd been so casually spending from had already been drained, legally, quietly, into a separate account under my sole name, something I'd prepared in advance with the help of an accountant I trusted more than I ever trusted her. Credit cards? Canceled, frozen. I waited until she tried to fill up her car to discover her gas card no longer worked. The car? Leased under my name, mine. Tracked, recovered, towed. She came home to find the driveway empty and a letter on the counter informing her that transportation was no longer part of our shared benefits. Her phone lit up with bank alerts she didn't understand. But that was just the surface-level damage. The real strike came from the network she didn't think I had the courage to use. Her parents adored me. I'd spent years earning their respect. So when I sent her father an email, not dramatic, not emotional, just a bullet-point breakdown of dates, locations, screenshots of messages, photos, and a scanned copy of the hotel receipt, it hit with surgical brutality. I didn't say a single word against her. I didn't need to. The evidence did all the talking. He replied an hour later. I had no idea. I'm so sorry, son. Son, not ex-son-in-law. That alone was satisfying. Then I moved on to the social sphere. Her friends, our friends, received a message too. Group email. No ranting, no sob stories. Just a folder link with one line. If you're wondering why we're no longer together, this explains it better than I ever could. I knew they'd look. People always look. And within hours, I saw accounts unfollow her, mutual chats go dead, her circle slowly evaporating. She tried to reach out to some of them. I know because one of them forwarded me her message, begging for support. They left her on read. But I wasn't done. She worked in a corporate marketing firm, sleek office, big clients, clean reputation. I didn't need to ruin her career. I just needed to reveal the cracks in her character to the right eyes. So I mailed a manila envelope, no return address, to her company's HR department. Inside, a copy of her time-off requests and the exact timestamps of her retreat affair, alongside photos that showed where she actually was and with whom. No accusations, just alignment. Let them draw their own conclusions. I knew her role was client-facing. I knew they had a zero-tolerance policy for reputational risk. She came home 3 days later pale, distracted, muttering about internal reviews and compliance concerns. She still didn't know I was behind it. She thought it was karma. Maybe it was. But karma usually doesn't carry timestamps and photographic evidence. Then came the apartment. It was under both our names, but I'd been paying the lion's share of rent. I filed for separation through my lawyer, citing irreconcilable betrayal, and filed for sole tenancy in the meantime. Quietly, I backed up my things, labeled boxes, rented a unit across town. I didn't tell her. I just waited for her to leave one afternoon, then emptied the place in under 6 hours. When she returned, she found the walls bare, drawers empty, closets stripped. On the kitchen counter, one last envelope, addressed in my handwriting. Inside, the divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Waiting only on her signature. Attached was a spreadsheet titled Breakdown. It listed every lie, every expense, every betrayal, each with its corresponding document or screenshot, sorted neatly like I was presenting evidence in court. Because in a way I was. My revenge wasn't chaos. It was order. It was structure. She had broken us with spontaneity and impulse. I would end us with reason and strategy. And even then, I wasn't finished. I made sure she saw my new social media profile. Not blocked, not hidden. Public. Polished. Me smiling, content, standing beside people she didn't know, doing things we never did together. A soft glow of a man unburdened, better. I didn't flaunt anything. I radiated detachment. That hurt more than gloating ever could. She messaged me once. Just one word. Why? I didn't respond. Because the answer was already written in the silence she left me with for months. She thought love made me weak. But what she didn't understand is that betrayal doesn't just break people. It sharpens them. And I was never sharper than when I dismantled her world using nothing but her own reflection. It happened at her niece's birthday party, of all places. She thought I wouldn't come, that I'd slink away in silence now that the paperwork was filed and the house was cleared, but I showed up early, as polite as ever, carrying a wrapped gift and that same neutral smile I'd worn for months. Her family loved me, still called me son, and when I arrived, her father clapped me on the back like I hadn't just exposed his daughter's entire double life with the precision of a surgeon. The room was full, her uncles, aunts, cousins, even her co-workers who were friends of the family, all gathered under one roof. She walked in 30 minutes later, dressed in white like she hadn't already soiled the foundation of everything she claimed to be. She smiled wide, loud, laughing like someone who believed she still had the stage. And for the first 10 minutes, she did. Until her mother, stern, quiet, but cutting when she wanted to be, stepped forward and handed her a small tablet. "You need to see this," she said. No inflection, no warmth, just finality. Her face changed immediately. I watched her eyes dart across the screen as message after message popped up, screenshots of her affair, voice clips I had carefully compressed into one folder and passed along days ago, timed perfectly for this moment. Her hand trembled. "This is fake," she said at first, too loudly. A few heads turned. "This is a setup. He's manipulating everything." But no one spoke. No one nodded. No one came to her defense. Her aunt turned away. Her cousin shifted uncomfortably. One of her friends whispered something to another, then both walked toward the front door. She looked around and realized the air had changed. The room had shrunk. The silence wasn't confusion, it was judgment. She tried laughing. Seriously? You all believe him? After everything I've done for this family? Her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. Her father didn't look at her. Her sister picked up her daughter and moved to the far corner of the room. I didn't move. I stood by the table, one hand on a cup of coffee, unmoved, unspeaking. She looked at me then. Really looked. And I think it hit her, right there in front of everyone. I hadn't just survived her betrayal, I had flourished in its aftermath. I wasn't angry. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't trying to win her back. I was done. And that terrified her more than anything. She walked toward me, faltering. You planned this, she whispered, barely audible now. You wanted to humiliate me. I tilted my head. No, I said, calmly. You did that all by yourself. She opened her mouth to reply, but another voice cut through, her former best friend, standing by the drinks table. You lied to me too, she said coldly. You told me he was controlling, that he didn't love you. You used me to cover for you. My ex flinched like the words had physical weight. I didn't mean, but she stopped. Because she did. She meant all of it. Every manipulation. Every spin. Every twisted, self-serving justification. You don't get to cry now, her friend added. And still, I said nothing. Just watched. Her eyes darted to me again, as if looking for a lifeline, for a flicker of pity, of softness, of anything that said, I still care. But all she saw was the man she used to know, now distant, now resolved, now unrecognizable in his peace. The silence stretched. Her breathing quickened. Her hand shot up to cover her mouth, as if to physically contain the scream building inside. And then, finally, she cracked. In front of everyone, mascara already smudging, she dropped to the couch like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Her shoulders shook, her breath came in short bursts, and still no one moved to console her. Not her mother. Not her friends. Not me. Because we all knew the truth now. And the only thing left for her to cling to was the wreckage she caused. I stood there, watching, letting the full weight of her consequences settle around her like ash. She looked up at me one last time, mouth trembling, eyes pleading, not for love, not even for forgiveness, just for relief. But I offered none. I took a slow sip of my coffee, nodded politely to her father, and turned back toward the crowd as the party resumed without her. And in that moment, as the music started up again and laughter cautiously returned, I didn't walk away. I didn't storm out. I stayed. Because justice sometimes isn't in the exit, it's in the quiet ruin left behind. It happened 2 weeks after the party, at her cousin's engagement dinner, one of those stuffy formal affairs where everyone dresses up and pretends their lives aren't unraveling beneath the surface. She wasn't supposed to be there. I was invited through her uncle, who said, "You're still family until those papers are signed." I showed up in a tailored navy suit, unbothered, steady, already knowing the room would feel colder the moment she walked in. And it did. She arrived 45 minutes late, as if fashionably late could still distract from disgrace, wearing a dress too bold for the occasion and a smile stretched too tight. The moment she spotted me, she froze. Her date, him, the affair partner I'd exposed so thoroughly his coworkers were still whispering about it, hovered awkwardly beside her, clearly uncomfortable, clearly unaware he was stepping into the lion's den. Her parents were already seated, quiet, stiff, eyes pointed anywhere but toward their daughter. My brother stood beside me, arms crossed, watching the unfolding tension like a man preparing for a storm. It started slow. She approached the table I stood at, fake smile locked in place. "Can we talk privately?" she said through clenched teeth. I didn't move. "We're already in public," I said calmly. "Might as well let everyone hear it." The room stilled. Forks paused midair. The cousin's fiancé glanced over nervously. She hissed, "Why are you still doing this?" Her voice cracked. "Why can't you just let it go?" I raised my voice, not a yell, but enough to make the room listen. "Because you don't get to light a house on fire and ask the ashes to be quiet." Gasps echoed. Her face turned scarlet. "You're obsessed," she snapped, voice rising. "You're a bitter, self-righteous control freak who's still mad I found someone who actually made me feel alive. Then why are you here with him?" I nodded toward the lover, looking like you're one wrong look away from falling apart. Her mouth opened, but he stepped in first, too soft, too clueless. "Hey man, maybe we should..." I cut him off. "She told you I abused her, didn't she?" He blinked, caught like a deer. She gasped, "Don't." "She told you I was distant, cruel, emotionally cold." I continued. That I ignored her needs. That I made her feel invisible. The room went dead silent. Her aunt's hand went to her mouth. Ask her if she told you about the anniversary dinner I planned while she was in your bed. Or the necklace I gave her the same day she sent you those photos. He turned to her, face draining. What is he talking about? She grabbed his arm. He's lying. He's twisting everything. She's been using the same story with every man she's ever cheated with, I said, eyes locked on her. She tells them she's the victim, that she's unloved, that she's just misunderstood. But the truth is, she's addicted to validation, allergic to accountability, and incapable of loyalty. She screamed then, not words, just sound, a raw, unfiltered shriek of someone who knows the room no longer believes her. You ruined my life, she shouted. You made me feel like nothing for years. No, I replied, voice slicing through her rage like glass. I treated you like you were everything, and you proved I was wrong. Her father stood then, trying to step between us. That's enough, but she shoved past him, stepping forward, finger pointed in my face. You're just mad I left you first, she spat. You're mad someone else wanted me. You couldn't satisfy me, couldn't challenge me, couldn't make me feel anything but trapped. I didn't flinch. And yet here you are, screaming in front of your family, begging the man you claimed to have moved on from to validate you. That's when the lover backed away. Literally took 2 steps back. You told me you weren't married anymore, he muttered. You said he hit you. Her face paled. Wait, no, that was before. I didn't mean, he looked at me, horrified. You have all this recorded? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her silence said it all. She turned to the room, looking for anyone who might come to her defense. No one moved. Her mother sat with a clenched jaw, shaking her head slowly. Her best friend turned and walked out. Even the event photographer lowered his camera. She collapsed into a chair, trembling, muttering things no one could hear anymore. The noise returned to the room, quiet conversation, clinking glasses, the sound of normalcy continuing without her. I stood for a moment longer, watching her unravel not because I pushed, but because she had nothing left to lean on but lies that no longer worked. She looked up at me with tears streaking through her makeup, voice trembling. What now? She asked. I leaned in just close enough for her to hear. Now, I said, you live in the world you built. And then I turned, calm, composed, the entire room watching, and walked out, leaving her to face every broken reflection without me there to hold the mirror. She disappeared for a while after the explosion, like a ghost trying to outrun its own story, but the world she came back to wasn't the one she left behind. The affair partner vanished within days, blocked her number, wiped his socials, and pretended he'd never known her. She tried reaching out to him from new accounts, even showing up once at his gym, but he walked past her like she was invisible, like the part of his life she'd occupied was already deleted and overwritten. Her job didn't fire her right away, but the HR investigation led to a quiet sit-down, followed by a forced resignation under the guise of protecting company integrity. Her coworkers didn't throw her a farewell party. They avoided eye contact as she packed her things into a cardboard box. Her reputation, once polished and magnetic, had curdled into something sour, something people whispered about but never addressed directly. Online, she bled followers. Comments dried up. Friends she'd once used as alibis stopped responding altogether. A few blocked her outright. At the grocery store, people glanced once and turned away. Parents at the daycare she once volunteered for crossed the street. She tried going to her usual yoga studio and found her spot taken, the instructor barely acknowledging her. Even her family grew quiet. Her mother stopped calling. Her father responded to her text with cold, one-word answers. Her sister, once her ride or die, left her messages on read. She moved out of the city 2 months later, into a rented studio above a dry cleaner in a town small enough not to ask questions and broke enough not to care. Word was, she picked up part-time work at a second-hand clothing shop and sometimes did delivery runs for extra cash. Her life had become a muted echo of what it used to be. No glamour, no parties, no curated perfection. Just days filled with silence and nights filled with the kind of loneliness she used to accuse me of causing. The last message she ever sent me came at 2:13 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was out with friends, laughing at a bar, when my phone buzzed once in my pocket. I didn't check it right away. But when I got home, I saw it. I still love you. I miss who we were. I made a mistake. I didn't reply. I let it sit in the ether for a day, then I typed exactly 7 words. Strange. I don't even remember your name. I never heard from her again, until she showed up at my door 6 months later. I didn't recognize her at first. She looked thinner, Her hair was darker, shorter, uneven. She wore a coat too big for her, makeup smeared in places where tears had already carved tracks. She didn't knock hard, just a few soft taps, almost ashamed to disturb anything. When I opened the door, she looked up with eyes that had lost all their old fire. "I had to see you," she said, voice hoarse. "I needed to apologize. To explain. I know you probably hate me. I didn't say anything." She swallowed hard, blinking fast. "I've lost everything. My job, my friends, my parents won't even talk to me. I can't sleep. I see you in every room, even when you're not there." Her hand trembled as she reached into her pocket and pulled out a faded photo, one of us at the beach, the day after we got engaged. "Do you remember this?" she asked, voice cracking. "You told me I was your future." I looked at the photo, then at her. "You were," I said. "And then you chose to burn it." Her lip quivered. "I was broken. I was selfish. I thought I needed more. But you were the only person who ever saw me. The only one who stayed." I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "No," I said quietly. "I stayed for the woman I believed you were. The woman who stood next to me and promised forever. That woman died the day you sold your soul for attention." She broke then. Fully. Dropped to her knees on the porch, sobbing into her hands, muttering apologies that echoed against the wood like a confession in an empty church. I didn't offer her a hand. I didn't even ask her to stand. I walked past her, down the steps, got into my car, and drove away, leaving her exactly where her choices had landed her. Some people learn the value of love too late. And by the time they realize what they had, all that's left is a shadow of who they used to be, begging in a language that once used to lie. I never opened my door to her again. I didn't need to. Because revenge isn't fire. It's ice. And silence. Silence is the loudest goodbye there is. Thank you for listening to my story. I appreciate every minute you spent with it. Where are you from? Did it hit the way you hoped it would?